This is the story of a man who went from being trashed and ridiculed by analysts to now being considered one of the greatest experts in the field of technology disruption. This man successfully predicted the adoption rate of electric vehicles and the cost decline of renewable energy. He even created an investment portfolio that returned more than 2,500% over the past 18 years. That's more than 10x the market return. His name is Tony Seba, and in this video we will uncover his secrets and talk about disruptive innovation. Imagine a world where entire industries are turned upside down, where new technology emerge and established players are left scrambling to catch up. This is the world of disruptive innovation. We have groundbreaking advancements that disrupt the status quo and create new opportunity for those who decide to embrace the change. Disruptive innovation is not just a buzzword, but to effectively capitalize on this paradigm shift, we first need a clear framework to help us identify those opportunities. Stay tuned because we will explore the key characteristics of disruptive innovation as we discuss concepts like cost curve and X-shaped disruption, then look at some of the current opportunity. Let's dive in. Disruptive innovation refers to the process through which new technology, product or service enter the market and challenge established players and traditional business model. They offer something new and different, often starting as a niche solution, initially not as capable or polished as existing offering. However, over time they improve and evolve, closing the gap in performance with established alternatives. Tony Seba talked a lot about S-curve. Picture an X-shaped curve on the graph representing the progress of a technology over time. Initially, when the technology is introduced, it undergoes a slow growth phase as it develops and gains traction. This is the bottom part of the S-curve. As the technology matures, the rate of progress accelerates, leading to a step upward slope in the middle of the curve. Finally, as the technology reaches saturation, the growth tapers off, forming the top part of the curve. The second phase of the S-curve looks out of place, as most of the adoption happens in a very short period of time. On average, it happens in only 10 to 15 years. Look at this picture of a New York street in 1900. Now look at the same street 13 years later. All the horses have been replaced by cars. That's the power of disruption in full force. But how is it even possible? How can things move so quickly? In some cases, it's the result of a network effect. As the user base of a product or service grows, it makes the product more appealing, which encourages further development and investment in the technology. A good example is social media. The more users are on the platform, the more content is generated, and the better the platform gets at attracting more users. Another reason might be resource allocation. As disruptive innovation prove their potential and demonstrate market demand, investment and resource allocation toward their development often increase. This has been the case with solar energy and more recently with electric cars. Okay, so now we understand how quickly a disruption can happen. But why do established players often get blindsided and fail to adapt? Let's talk about it. An expert is a person with a high level of knowledge or skills relating to a particular subject or activity. The trap into which many experts fall is to rely too much on their experience and reasoning by analogy instead of using first principle thinking. That's why the IEA consistently failed to predict solar adoption for 20 years, despite the plethora of data showing the acceleration in solar adoption and the rapid cost decline. Keep in mind that the EIA describes itself as the most authoritative source of energy market data analysis and projection, but still grossly underestimated solar adoption rates for 20 years. When the disruption happened, it happened fast. And the adoption of the new technology leads to the destruction of the old one in a feedback loop process. This is due to the reduction in demand for the old technology, receiving fewer and fewer incentives and generating less profit. This is a reverse S-curve, and it happens as the new technology takes more and more of the market share. Superposing both curves create an X-shaped curve, also known as the X-shaped disruption. There are many reasons why most established companies often fail to adapt. The first one is the reliance on expert prediction. Any company relying on the EIA projection to create a solar strategy will have been completely taken out of the race. The second reason is human nature. We very often are resistant to change. Organizations are made of people who have spent years mastering their skill set to increase their value to the company. So bringing any kind of change to the existing process is difficult because no one wants to go back to square one and start over. In fact, the more a business is thriving, the fewer incentive executives have to push for change. Another reason why companies fail to change is arrogance and greed. Simply put, big company executives often think that small players in the market are too insignificant to pose a threat, or they can simply buy out the small player whenever they start getting some traction. And that's the issue, because when that moment comes, it's already too late. This is the problem faced by legacy automakers today against new EV companies like Tesla. In 2010, Toyota made a partnership with Tesla with the goal of building an all-electric RAV4. Toyota purchased 2.3 million shares of Tesla for 50 million, but a few years later, they ended the partnership after Tesla's stock price did more than 10x, jumping the value of those shares to 538 million. That's a nice ROI, but if they have kept their investment, it would be worth more than 8.5 billion today. And Toyota did not just lose on the market return, they also completely missed out on the groundbreaking advancement Tesla made in manufacturing, leaving one of Toyota executives to recently comment on how the Tesla Model Y is, quote, a work of art and a whole different manufacturing philosophy. This says a lot about how the top player in the field can be blindsided and crushed by small player in a short period of time. We know that the bulk of disruptions happen when the new technology reaches equal or better performance than the current one for a much lower price. What you need to understand is that cost curves are gravity, and the adoption of new technology is driven by pure economics. So if we can predict the cost decline of a technology, we can predict the inflection point where it will reach price parity with the old technology. That inflection point corresponds to the start of the second phase of the S-curve. In 1936, Theodore Wright determined that for every doubling of airplane production, the labor requirement was reduced by 10 to 15%. His research is known today as Wright's law, and it states that for every cumulative doubling of unit produced, cost will fall by a constant percentage. So if the cost of producing the new technology follow Wright's law, you can use a simple formula to make prediction and figure out the inflection point. Cost curve and disruption are not just limited to AI or car manufacturing. In industry like aerospace, 3D printing, or even food, we see imminent disruption. And in future video, we will do a deep dive into each of these industries, so subscribe for more content. But now let's have a quick look at how we can take advantage of the current opportunities. Understanding how disruption works and identifying patterns of new disruptive technology is great, but being able to take action to get the most out of these opportunities is even better. The first obvious and easiest way to position ourselves to profit from disruption is to invest in the industry's biggest player. If you believe in an all-renewable energy future combined with autonomous vehicle, you can invest in companies like Tesla or Google. Or if you believe in the future of robotics, you can try to get some exposure to Boston Dynamics. Another less obvious way to profit from disruption is to build the skills to break into the industry early and ride the wave. Think about it, if you knew the internet would be this big back in the early 2000s, you would have probably learned how to build websites. Just like today, for people who want to break into the other industry, I believe it makes more sense to learn about electric motors rather than old school gas engine. The third way to profit from disruption is to find underserved niche of the new technology and capitalize on it by building a solution. One example is the startup Spark Charge. The founder Josh has seen the growth in EV adoption and the lack of reliable charging infrastructure, so he tried to solve one of the biggest point of owning an EV, which is range anxiety. Disruptive innovation is a fascinating and complex topic, so let me know which one you would like me to cover. Thank you all for watching, like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.